How's it going?
Not too bad. How are you?
I'm doing great because I just watched your movie and it
Ah,
gave me all the feels, as they say.
Good. All the feels.
Did you cry a little tear?
Uh,
We
I-
melt your cold, cold heart.
it was not a little tear; it was a great big tear, and there were a great many of them.
Ah, nice.
Thanks.
But
You're a modern man, not afraid to cry. That's good.
yeah, 21st century.
Yeah.
um, well, anyway, let's talk about that first. About making, a movie that I don't know. It seems like any animation that's not, CGI is inherently less mainstream these days.
Yeah, that's
Tell me
funny,
about-
isn't it?
Yeah, tell me about making a mainstream family movie that, anyone can enjoy and doing it in this style that too many people see as archaic.
Yeah, I don't think we think about it that much. In fact, we think about it as a challenge to push. Like, we don't shy away from the fact that it's hand drawn, and we try to celebrate it. And I think it feels like it's coming back around into fashion. It feels like people are open to it again, which is fantastic. And pre-COVID, I was excited to see, with the kind of marketing power of Apple, if we could attract the kind of numbers that CG movies attract into cinemas. But I guess when it's on Apple TV Plus, it should be able to attract a big family audience. And I often think that, like, we owe a debt of gratitude to, like, Studio Ghibli and Japanese animation for keeping the flame alive when a lot of other studios moved away from hand-drawn. Like, there was some small productions in Europe that were still doing hand-drawn, but not so much. And so it's kind of cool that I think there's a generation now that grew up on Japanese animation and they recognize hand-drawn animation as an acceptable technique to tell a story with. And then hopefully we fit into that sort of category for them.
Do you think maybe mainstream also just depends on the amount of marketing and distribution and publicity that goes behind it as well? Like, if you think about, like, a blockbuster, it could have been hand animated.
Yeah, I don't think the hand animation is actually the thing that makes it less mainstream. I think it's the fact that it's not kind of calculated to hit as many, notes as possible with as many people. It's a little bit more earnest, a little bit more indie and old-fashioned in how we go about it. Whereas I can often feel, even if they're really entertaining, movies like The Trolls and stuff, they're really designed to be really catchy and really keep your attention from moment to moment with as much glitter and shine and songs and music and everything that they can throw at you. And so we kind of try to offer something a little bit more, a little bit less intrusive and a little bit more old-fashioned, I guess.
Sure. Tell me about that indie sensibility and keeping your movies, under, $10 million or like Star's catering budget or whatever.
Yeah. And that's cool. Like, the $10 million is like double the budget we had for our previous movie. So at the start, I wanted to keep it, like, I've always had a philosophy that the more you can, like, if you can make it for a lower budget, you have more freedom, And I was always afraid of having big partners like Apple, because I was afraid that then you'd be obliged to take a lot of notes and that you wouldn't be able to just make the movie how you wanted to. And so we've been really blessed that they've been great partners. They weren't really interfering creatively.
Yeah.
And we kind of had, at this stage, built up with the previous movies, enough of a reputation that people trusted us to make the right decisions.
Yeah, I think, like, if you look back, like, even back to Secret of Kells days, it was really just, if you could scrape together finance from different countries and different, like, government organizations and, like, different funders and all that, and if you got the chance to make the movie, and if it had to be done for a little bit cheaper, you would just still take it. And maybe the fact that, like, I don't know, it must be harder over in the States maybe to do that, because if your film is going to get made, it probably has to get made in a bigger studio. There's less maybe co-production models that can allow that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it is actually something that I've been talking to other filmmakers about lately, is the idea of, oh, we couldn't make this movie because we didn't have $150 million. Yeah. When then you have someone saying the exact same thing because they didn't have $50,000.
Yeah.
And then you've got people who go, well, we didn't have that money, but we made the movie anyway. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never liked the idea that you had to wait for permission of somebody to make your film. I always thought that it was wise to know what you wanted to do and then go out and make it and kind of gather coalition of the willing along the way.
Yeah, but it is wise for like a government to promote this kind of stuff. I mean, like I know, like in different countries, there is like a great film board that like will help young filmmakers to go out and make their first movie. I mean, like, do you remember that film Once, with Glenn Hansard and that? And like that was made for a shoestring, and then it went on to win in Sundance and like get loads and loads of awards, and really did like you won what?
Oscars.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And like did amazingly, like did a great service then back for the film industry in Ireland and brought so much like investment. So like if the government is thinking, like, I know like some people might call that socialism and it's so dangerous and all that, but it's like actually good business sense.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, speaking of, Ireland, tell me about doing a story that is, rooted in your ancestry, but also, a fantasy version of that.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, it was set in the town that we grew up in, so that was fun. There was a lot of, and based on history that we grew up knowing about, but maybe had never done such a deep dive into before.
Yeah, like they say to write stories about like things that you know and have experienced, and I think like we've grown up on these folktales, so it's something that we know very well. It's part of our culture, and then also like Robin and Maeve's childhood story, like we drew on our own childhood. Like, oh, I like your cat coming in there for a cameo.
We like attention.
So I think we can't get away from the fact that these stories are powerful for us. And it might seem like a little bit weird if we went and tried to co-opt maybe folktales from another culture. Maybe it wouldn't come across as being as authentic or something like that. But
it also felt for me nice for all these movies to be an offering to the next generation that's, maybe not overly commodifying or commercializing the stories, that you get to kind of retell them and have them remembered and reimagined, and then you're just in the middle, like storytellers will take the story from the previous generation and pass them on to the next generation, and the next generation will find meaning and ways to rediscover them for themselves. And so you're just kind of like a conduit. You're just in the middle. You're not necessarily the final version of it. I always think it's such a pity when you see that when Disney does a fairy tale, that's the definitive version of the fairy tale. And I always think that it shouldn't be,
Oh yeah, that really annoys me. Like when you go to go hear a really great storyteller, like a live storyteller, they'll be telling stories that you have heard before, but it's the telling of the story that is the enjoyment and the entertainment, and can totally keep you gripped. And even though you know the ending, and even though you know the characters, and you might have heard the story like 50 times before, it's the actual telling of it that is like the talent and like the skill and the enjoyable part of it. So it doesn't always have to be like, brand new and unique. And once it's told well, once, that isn't the end of it. There's always good retellings. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. We'll have time for one last question.
Sure. Last question. Just, pretty quick. Apple TV, you kind of suggested this before, but good partners, you want to keep on working with them, or are you done? You're like, Apple TV.
Oh, that's it. We'll never work with those guys again. Slamming the door. It's over. No, it's actually been nice. I mean, the worry, I suppose, for us at the start was, would people be watching it on Apple TV? And we've kind of, since we did the deal, we've seen the platform kind of build out and carve out their niche, and I'm really happy to be the first animated feature on there. Feels like we're in good company. I've been enjoying a lot of the stuff they've been doing lately.
They have really good content, so like there's a really high level there, so it's
I really trust Tara. We knew Tara from before. She used to work in Amazon. Tara Sorensen is the head of kids, like children, for Apple. And so we'd worked with her on TV shows. And she always reminds me of the old BBC commissioning editors we used to work with in the early 2000s, who almost have like an education background. They're almost thinking what will be good for kids, like rather than what will sell more Big Macs to kids. And I feel that her heart's in the right place. She's fairly right on, kind of open-minded, and she kind of appreciates good content. She's got Snoopy, but she's also got like a great illustrator, Oliver Jeffers, doing a series with her, and she kind of has good taste. So I feel like we're in good company. So I think we'd like to work with them again.
And they've been really good partners for like the marketing and distribution and publicity and everything.
When we saw the painting in New York, we were like, oh wow, this is crazy. I just wish I could see it in real life, but that was amazing.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. The movie is fantastic. And just really super quick before I let you go, I want to thank you for giving a voice to my all-time favorite animal.
Oh, the Puffins.
Oh, yeah.
There's a Puffin Rock movie coming, man. We're making Puffin Rock the movie. Yeah. Yeah, with Chris O'Dowd again as the narrator. And it's really beautiful because it's about climate refugees. Like puffins, other types of puffins arrive in Puffin Rock, and the puffin kids have to make room for these new refugees because they can't live where they're from anymore.
Oh, my God. I'm in. I can't wait. Thanks so much.
It's got some great songs.
Awesome.
And my granddaughter is a puffling.
Oh, okay. Hopefully I'll get to talk to you about that one.
Yeah.
Too. And I'll catch you on the next one.